Hello, friends and neighbors. Welcome to episode 5 of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. Here we are again in our underground secret recording studio somewhere in St. Boniface. And hopefully we can get on for episode 6, but let's worry about episode 5. Don't worry, we got producer Grammy watching the door. And of course, we have Benny joining us again on this incredible voyage. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, Ray?
I'm feeling fine. Lots of NFL action this weekend. Lots of NFL happenings with the trade deadline. So it's an NFL heavy show this week. We're going to start off with some Aaron Rodgers and Packer action. And we're also going to look at the New York Jets upsetting the Cincinnati Bengals. We have New Orleans and Tampa Bay and a quarterback situation with an injury there. And of course, OBJ trade talks have been happening. We'll address that. And of course, the Chargers losing two in a row. And then we'll move on to some CFL action. We're getting into the interesting part of the season where every game pretty much has playoff implications on it. And of course, we're going to talk some NHL action. We have the Winnipeg Jets playing at home, starting a 7-game homestand against the Dallas Stars. We're in the second intermission. It's 3-1 for the Winnipeg Jets. And of course, we're keeping the World Series. What's the score there?
I believe it is still 6-0 for the Braves.
Those baseball gods are really shoving it in my face. Looks like Houston might go down, but we'll keep an eye on that. But let's start with the NFL. And let's go back to Thursday and Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers against the Cardinals. What a game. What an upset maybe without Aaron Rodgers having those receivers. What are your thoughts on that game and what's going on with those mighty Packers? Yes.
Yeah, every time we start to think we kind of understand how these teams are, another game shocks us. So
yeah,
the Packers were down two of their top receivers in Devontae Adams and Adam Lazard, both on the COVID list. So you thought they would struggle a bit on offense. And yeah, maybe the offense wasn't as crisp as it is with Devontae Adams in there. But let's not forget they're also missing their left tackle there, Bakhtiari. So
yeah,
Rodgers was fine. He didn't do anything amazing. He was under 200 yards, but he took what the D gave him, mainly a lot of short stuff. And really, the biggest thing for the Packers offense was the running game. They piled over about 150 total yards. So, and to me, Kyler Murray looked average. Hopkins was out with for injury most of the game, came in here and there, but it seemed like without his top receiver, he couldn't find anybody else open to help him out. So, yeah, the only thing is the Packers, again, they lost their big tight end in Tanyan for the season. So we'll see how they can manage that. But right now they're sitting at the top of the NFC with the Rams and the Cards.
Yeah, they're looking good. We talked last week about how their O-line is a chameleon-like O-line. They can play different styles, and they pulled out a different style. It was a power running game, especially with J.J. Watt missing for the Cardinals. They took advantage of that weakened defensive line, and they ran all over them. And that's the thing with the Packers. He's missing his wide receiver 1 and 2 and 3 with Valdez-Scantling also being out, and he just finds other targets, spreads the ball around, and they really ran up the gut of the Cardinals. And I think the Cardinals are in trouble, to be honest with you. I think Kyler Murray might have been exposed there. Keep him in the pocket. Don't let him run around. Press coverage. Of course, you have to have a good defense like Green Bay has. We talked about that no-name defense. But I was impressed, and I'm worried for the Cardinals. They look suspect now, to be honest with you, after one game, after their first loss.
Well, even with Kyler Murray, he came up hobbling, I believe, his ankle after the game there. So, well, see how his status is throughout the week. But, I mean, they kept him in that pocket and they forced him to throw and they chased him. Like, they applied a lot of pressure towards Murray. So, that Packer D definitely showed up that night and made up for losing Adams and Lazard to injury. So.
Yeah, and just like you said, every week, just when we think we have it figured out, we don't.
Nope.
Who is the number one team in the NFC now? I might have to jump on Dallas after they won with their backup quarterback, which was an amazing game, a surprising game. So I don't know what's going on in the NFC, man. I have no idea.
It's what is there? 5 teams at the top that are really good, and then the other 2 spots are. The Saints look decent as well. So. But 3 teams at 7-1, and then you got like you said, the Dallas Cowboys sitting right there.
Yeah. And talking about surprises, let's move to the Jets upsetting the Bengals. The week before, we saw the Bengals handle the Ravens in Baltimore, and we're like, oh, they've taken the next step. And then they go and play the pathetic Jets with a backup quarterback. Can you explain that? I can't.
No.
My mind is boggled, man.
No, I can't explain that at all. We did say last week we would hold off on anointing the Bengals as the top team in the AFC, and it's a good thing we did.
Thank goodness.
You know, they showed that they're not there yet. They had a chance to widen that lead in the AFC North with the Steelers playing the Browns. One of them was going to lose, and then with the Ravens off, they could have widened that gap, and instead they lose to the 1-5 Jets. Like you say, starting their backup QB. It's his first NFL start. They haven't really beat anyone. They just got embarrassed the week before by the Patriots. So, but how about them? 2 wins against Tennessee and Cincinnati, basically almost the 2 top teams in the AFC right now.
Yeah, the way they won that game with over 400 yards passing against a Bengals defense that totally shut down any kind of semblance of a passing game against the Ravens the week before. And last week I said, oh, maybe the Bengals are gone. That's a bit early to say, eh? The Bengals.
They're still hanging out.
Yeah, they're in the back row there, and they showed up this week. The Bengals returned. Poor Cincinnati. They were just ready to go. Some of them are probably planning some kind of parade, but no, it's not. It doesn't look too good quite yet. And it might have been a case of how the Ravens underestimated the Bengals. Maybe the Bengals went in underestimating the lowly Jets, and look what happened.
Yeah, the Ravens beat the Chargers pretty good the week before, right? And then they came out soft against the Bengals. So maybe the Bengals again, they put it all on the line last week against the Ravens, and they had nothing left in the tank for this matchup. But yeah, if we want to go back into that AFC and say who's at the top, I don't know. Hey, you could have picked Tennessee. Tennessee could have been that one if Derrick Henry didn't get hurt. Obviously he's a huge part of their team. He is their main guy on offense. Team, so
for sure.
So we'll see. Can Tanny carry them? And then you got Adrian P or AD, I guess, all day.
Yeah,
Adrian
all
Peterson.
day. Bring him back. I've been looking for him. He's got to come back for a while now.
Yeah,
I wanted the Steelers to pick him up, and here he is. Might be able to make a resurgence. I agree. Yeah. It's a power running game. He obviously is not the same running back as Derrick Henry. That's like a once in a generation type running back.
For sure, yeah.
With a guy with that speed and that size. But AP can play that game. He can pound it between the tackles, and he runs with attitude. And he's a guy that stays in shape. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing the return of Adrian Peterson. Yeah, man. You mentioned the New Orleans Saints early on and how they look good. They look good with that defense, and they made Tom Brady look suspect at the end of the game there. They made him look kind of old, to be honest with you. The last 2 plays of the game there, they had a chance at 1 interception, a breaking on the ball, and Tom Brady threw the ball at the same place the second time, and they got a pick, and they brought it back to the house. So with New Orleans, I don't know, with the loss of Jameis Winston, what's going to happen with them?
Yeah, you would have thought even before with Breeze retiring that Winston wouldn't have been enough to even have them with a winning record, but they certainly are sitting with a winning record. And then they facing Tampa Bay, they lost Winston fairly early in that game. I thought they were going to lose even with Winston. So now you lose Winston. It's like, okay, well, here comes Simeon. You're going to lose even worse, right? But they were up, and Tampa Bay fought back, took the lead. But Brady made some uncharacteristic mistakes at the end of the game there. So ended up with 2 INTs. He is actually only 1-3 against the Saints since moving to Tampa Bay. That 1 win came in the playoffs only. So, which is the game that counted the most. So,
of course.
The interesting thing I saw on Twitter today, that anybody who has visited the Manning cast the previous Monday has lost the week after. So Kelsey was one of them. Brady was just on there. He lost. So Josh Allen was on last night. So we'll see what happens to him. But he gets to play the Jags.
There's a Manning show curse.
It's a Manning curse, yeah.
That show is hilarious. I can watch those 2. Did you see that little bit about eating the chicken?
Yes. He went to town on that piece of chicken.
Yeah.
Wow.
that's like a 5-bite.
Yeah.
It's like a piece of chicken that he ate in 5 bites. It was crazy. Eli's like, "Are you breathing, bro? Are you breathing?"
He did not breathe. He still had the chicken in his mouth. He didn't even swallow any of it.
Never mind, eat that hot dog. Eat that chicken. Eat that chicken, Peyton. Eat that chicken. But back to the Saints, they have an amazing defense. They've had a great defense pretty much ever since Peyton Manning. Sean Payton has been there. And now with Simeon and probably Taysom Hill coming back from concussion, I'm not too worried. I think they'll lean on that running game. And with Ingram coming back, I think that's huge now. You have Ingram back in the backfield with Kamara, and they'll probably lean on that running game. Less mistakes for Simeon to make. I think they can still be a very dangerous team, not just in the NFC South, but in the NFC.
Philip Rivers said he did not get a call yet, but he would listen if the Saints called him.
Oh, gosh. Just sit down, bro. Just sit down.
Yeah,
I thought you're coaching high school football. What happened there?
How good would that guy be, though, throwing the ball to Kamara constantly? He loves that short running back pass. It'd be perfect for him.
I know, but when it comes down to it, the dude don't win. Just give Simeon a shot and run the ball. He's going to make a mistake later on. Just like Carson Wentz that yesterday. I was like, Carson Wentz turned the corner, and then look at that, throwing picks like crazy.
Good old Wentz.
Let's talk about throwing picks and good old quarterbacks. And let's talk about Baker Mayfield and his maybe what should have been his primary target, Odell Beckham. Yeah. They did not trade him. Despite the rumors and the demands, what's going on with that situation? Can they move forward with OBJ in Cleveland?
I doubt it. I mean, they're going to have to.
Yeah.
The one rumor today was that the Saints were actually in the mix for a trade for OBJ, but it did not come through. OBJ still owed quite a bit on his contract, so his time probably should have been up. Him and Baker don't seem to have any chemistry at all. No. OBJ, he's not the guy that they traded for and hoping the playmaker that he would have been in all the seasons there. He's never stood out and to be the number one receiver. I mean, Landry's always doing better than him, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, especially today after his dad, OBJ's dad, threw some shade at Baker and posted a 12-minute video of all the misses that Baker was throwing towards OBJ. So I don't know how you repair that relationship up now or anything like that. So he should have been gone. Cleveland should have saw what they could have got for him and moved on, really.
Absolutely. And don't get me wrong. I do not put it all on Baker Mayfield. I think OBJ probably hasn't been as good a receiver as he was in his first couple of years. He has those amazing catches. He made a couple of Pro Bowls, and he's banked money off of that. Let's be honest now. He had an opportunity to make a great catch yesterday down the middle, and his alligator arms came up. He didn't full out go for the ball because he had 2 defenders around him, probably scared to get hit. Maybe he's not willing to sacrifice his body for the team, or maybe he just doesn't do that anymore because he's Odell Beckham Jr. But I agree, it's time for him to go. He needs a new scenario. Maybe Las Vegas next year. But I don't know. Yeah, for what? For why? Why do you want this guy?
He'd actually be probably pretty good in Shanae's offense.
Come on,
let him run.
Yeah, you got Deebo Samuel for that, doing 75-yard touchdowns. And you have George Kittle that's going to be coming back. Don't worry about OBJ wrecking up your room, bro. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to worry about him now. So exactly.
Trash. Let's go to a situation in the Chargers. They were looking so good with MVP talk about Justin Herbert. Can they turn that around in San Diego? I will forever call them, or are they done? Are they done in San Diego?
The San Diego Superchargers?
San Diego Superchargers.
Yeah, we were pretty high on them after when they moved to 4-1, right?
Yeah.
Herbert was on fire. I think we actually included him in our MVP chat.
For sure.
Saying
I threw him in mine for sure.
Yeah, this guy couldn't be slowed down, but since then he got blown out by the Ravens. Bill Belichick made him look average last night or yesterday. Shut down that high-powered offense. That guy, he'll make it. Yeah, I mean, he even made Brady look average, and so far this year Brady's been pretty good. But Yeah, 2 INTs, 3 sacks for Herbert, and just a measly 223 yards. So the run game was moving. Um, so not sure why they didn't stick more to that, but maybe it was because they were down. So
Yeah.
they got a decent game. The Chargers coming up with the Eagles. The Vikings they should beat as well. Then they got one with the Steelers. We'll see where the Steelers are in a couple weeks, and then the Broncos. So they got some games they can win there, but we'll see. We'll see if they can turn it around.
Yeah, what frustrated me after the game is this Keenan Allen and his quote about the frustration me every year. It's the same thing every year, beating ourselves, same thing over and over. Man, first of all, if that's the issue, fix it. Second of all, you're just getting beat. You're not that good of a team coming down the stretch. Let's be honest. The Patriots defense whooped them up and down. You mentioned Bill Belichick, like he is amazing. Bring in a rookie quarterback. What do? Spend all your money on the defense. Bring in this what's his name? Matthew Judon as a rush end. You have J.C. Jackson. You have Jalen Mills, a safety from Philly, and now you have this great defense holding them back. And look you know what? The cap probably goes up next year, so all that money that you spent, you're fine. So they know what they're doing in New England. But with the Chargers, I can't believe in them anymore, man. Not the way things are going in the NFL, and you need that rushing game late in the season. They haven't shown that they have a consistent rushing game, so I can't believe in them no more. I can't.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and I kind of get where Keenan Allen's coming from because there's always every year, it seems like expectations get to a certain point with the Chargers that hey, they're going to do this or they've won a few games, they're on their way, and then all of a sudden it just starts to crumble. Right? You even go back to when Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Tomlinson were there.
Yeah.
They could never beat the Pats, right? They had the best teams in the NFL, and they still could not beat the Pats, or they couldn't get over that hump, or couldn't get away from making stupid mistakes. So
exactly.
It's funny how that stuff just follows a team around like that, eh? So speaking of New England, though, yeah, I mean, you were right on that. Belichick, he's built up that D. Mac Jones is doing enough, not making mistakes. Enough to do and move that offense. The running game actually looks pretty good too for that. So I mean they're back. They're back to 4-4 right now, so they're definitely back in the playoff race.
Yeah, you know what? Shout out to another team that hasn't lost in a month. The Pittsburgh Steelers making noise. I gave up on my team. I'm not going to lie to you. I was like, oh gosh, that O-line, we're done. But they don't look good, but they're just staying alive. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. Shout out to my Steelers. Don't worry, we're going to talk about your 49ers in a sec. Let's finish off some NFL talk. Give me a couple of your prime matchups going into week 9 of the NFL and what they can mean moving forward.
I'm going to go with the first one is obviously the one that many people are looking forward to this year is the Packers and the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know. We haven't heard if Devontae Adams is cleared. I'm pretty sure Adam Lazard is back, but the Chiefs have been struggling. There's no question about it. They barely beat the Giants last night.
Oh, what?
Last year they would have blown the Giants out by 50. We all could have gone to bed by 9.
Yeah.
But they scratched their way through, and they got lucky almost because the Giant player who went offside that negated a Mahomes interception, and then the phantom face mask penalty that helped Kelsey get another.
What a joke,
yards.
Eh? Oh, goodness.
So yeah, it's. Maybe I'm not looking as forward to it anymore. Maybe the Packers will show.
You talked yourself out of it, bro.
Yeah, maybe the Packers are going to clamp them down, but the Chiefs need this win. They need to win. They need to get that confidence back. We'll see if Mahomes can get back because they got a tough stretch. They got the Packers, the Raiders, and the Cowboys coming up, so they need to get some confidence going, or that playoffs are going to be far behind them. And it's another game for the Packers to show that hey, they're the top of the NFL.
Yeah. I think with the Packers too, that they, I mentioned the Dallas Cowboys being the top team in the NFC, but those Packers haven't lost since week 1 when they got shut out and everyone was worrying about what was going on. And now they just look formidable, especially after they beat those Cardinals. What's your second matchup there?
I'm going to go with an important game in the AFC North between the Browns and the Bengals. To me, well, if the Browns lose this, I think their playoff chances are probably gone. So this is an important division, not only to stay alive in that division, but also that playoff spot. The Bengals, they need to forget about last week. If they're actually better than the Bengals, they need to prove that and show it once again. A win for the Bengals here makes them 3-0 in that division, which would be huge for any tiebreakers in that. So to me, this is probably one of the biggest games of the week right there because Browns lose, pretty much done. Bengals win, they can show again that they're still top of the AFC.
Yeah, if they lose, I agree. They pretty much will be done. I have that matchup as well. And the Browns do need this win because they don't want to be losing to an NAC North division rival. And they just don't want to lose 2 in a row. They want to show that they're resilient and they can come back, which is kind of a theme with the games I picked here. And same as Cincy. They're a young team and they need to show that they can come back and be resilient after losing to an underdog. If they lose 2 in a row, people were saying, oh, there's those Bungles, same old Cincinnati. So I think they really need to win this one to turn the corner. And my second matchup was the 49ers and the Cardinals. This was an NFC West division matchup. The 49ers, they're on the bubble in regards to playoff spots. So I think they need to put 2 wins together, especially with Jimmy G. That guy looked good in Chicago. Not necessarily statistically, but he had that team with him. He was rallying his troops and running into the end zone and playing hard. And the Cardinals need to see if they can come back. First loss of the season. Like I said, I think some teams saw that they were figured out, see how they adjust without J.J. Watt. I think that's a good matchup to watch coming into week 9.
Yeah, I agree. That's a big game for the Niners. They need that win to stay alive in the playoff race in the NFC. But yeah, and they played them tough a few weeks ago. 17 win for the Cardinals there. Trey Lance's first game. So yeah, like you say, if Jimmy can play the same way he did on Sunday, they'll have a chance, and hopefully they can come away with the victory.
Yeah, the thing is with Jimmy, you can't put everything on him, but he has a fighting spirit that can lead a team to wins. So yeah, that'll be quite the matchup. Let's move to some CFL action. Of course, the Bombers having the week off, having their bye before they finish off the season. But a couple happenings in Bomberland. The playoff game got not pushed even further back. The playoff game got pushed forward half an hour to also accommodate the NHL hockey game that's happening against the Leafs. Do you think that would be happening if it wasn't the Leafs? Or is it just Jets? People got to get out of there.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be, but I guess, it's a good thing that they were able to work something out in the NHL. I don't know if it was between the NHL, the Jets, or the Bombers, whichever one, but it's a good thing they were able to work that out. But I'm surprised they're actually playing Toronto on a Sunday at whatever time it was scheduled at anyways. That's a kind of weird time.
Yeah. And also, we talked about how the Bombers, how they're going to keep sharp. And I think they're doing it by bringing in talent. We're getting Winston Rose back, a CFL All-Star. Interceptor leader in 2019 has returned for the Bombers secondary, who are already loaded with talent. So I don't know where they're going to fit him in, but it's great to have him back. Yeah. And of course, Sergio Garcia coming in to compete for the kicking position.
I think Garcia would be for the golfing position. Castillo.
Oh, Sergio Garcia, Sergio Castillo. Goodness. I'm stealing steals here. I'm stealing steals for those who are with us in episode 4. I'll talk about that later, maybe. So Bomberland is okay. Yeah, Bomberland's doing okay. We have a game coming up on Saturday, and I think they're still looking good. Still the cream of the crop, yeah?
No, for sure. It just, like you say, they don't have a lot to play for here over the next 3 weeks. Like, it'll be almost a month before they play a meaningful game here, right? So, yeah, bringing in some more talent with like Winston Rose is great for the team. It just makes everyone else better there and pushes each other. So if they can stay in these games for the next 3 weeks, because then they got another bye there when the semis are happening. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out on that game on the 5th, and hopefully that game gets sold out.
Yeah, I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to be there. A home playoff game. We've been to a couple of those, and they are absolutely electric.
They are. Yeah.
The cold don't matter. Don't matter. So let's talk about the other CFL teams. Unfortunately for Ottawa and Edmonton, they've kind of been out for a while. How do you see those teams moving forward? Does either of them need to blow things up, or is a couple of adjustments with the roster? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Ottawa do, because they moved on from their GM. So are they going to hire someone that Lapo wants, or are they going to hire someone that they want, and then he'll decide if Lapo stays or not? If it's Lapo getting to pick a GM, then they might just need to find a quarterback. They might make a couple adjustments next year, and then they'll be challenging for at least a playoff spot at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they go clean, you're starting all over again. Blow it right back up. Find it. They need a QB. I mean, thinking Matt Nichols was going to be your QB for this year, getting rid of Arbuckle, none of that made sense. And I don't know if that was Lapo thinking, I'd rather have Nichols because I know him. We can win with Nichols. That's a mistake there for him. For Edmonton, they look like they're ready to go for next year. They got their quarterback in Arbuckle for next year, and they've had a decent team for the most part. I mean, they've only won 2 games, but they've actually been involved in each game, and they have some good receivers there. So the big question for me is their coach, Jamie Elizondo, actually a good coach or not? And we'll find that out next year.
Yeah, I think Edmonton, they're in a situation where they do not blow it up. They have an amazing roster. Not amazing. They have a solid roster. Early in the season, before the season started, a couple of people were picking them to make the playoffs, if not contend for the top spot in the West. So roster-wise, they're okay. It does depend on if they buy into Elizondo, if he hasn't lost the room, and if Arbuckle can be that number 1 quarterback. I think they're in a lot better situation than Ottawa. Ottawa, they're pretty much starting at ground zero. If they bring in GM, that GM is well within their rights to bring in a head coach that suits them. So poor Lapo if that happens. But talent-wise, on their roster, it's very weak. Their O-line's kind of trashy. Their Canadian content is very low. They've drafted poorly the past forever, almost.
Yeah.
And they need a quarterback, like you said. They need to go all out and they need to pry Dane Evans or Mazzoli from Hamilton. Because one of those guys got to go.
They need a quarterback for sure.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Because without a quarterback in this league, especially, you're in trouble.
We lived through many seasons of no quarterbacks.
Oh,
gosh. So as Bomber fans, we know how bad that could be.
It hurts. It hurts.
TJ Rubley.
Wow, my gosh. We can go on and on. Right? Troy Kopp, Kevin McDougall, T. Martin. Oh, just stop it already. Let's just stop it. So let's look at these other CFL teams. Talking about new quarterbacks, we saw Montreal and Trevor Harris play at the end of the game there. I don't know if I believe in Montreal or not, especially with that dodgy quarterback situation. But Trevor Harris looked pretty decent in his limited time there. What are your thoughts on Trevor Harris? And they had an actually tight game against Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only bad thing for Montreal is they got 2 games against Winnipeg, but at this point with Winnipeg having things clinched, it might be a good thing for them. But yeah, if Winnipeg comes out and balls in those games, I find it hard to believe that Montreal is going to beat them. So it might be tough for them with those 2 out of their 3 games against the Bombers. Harris will make them better, I would think. He hasn't been great, Harris, even this year in Edmonton, but I think with Kari Jones, a better offense kind of going there.
Absolutely.
Well, just an update: the Dallas Stars have now come back to tie this game at 3. So in the third period. So
here we go. Interesting game.
So yeah,
producer Grammy shaking his head. It's all good. It's all good. We'll get through this, brother.
Ouch. Yeah. So they may have it tough there, but I still feel like they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think BC's got a chance to get that crossover spot.
Yeah, that loss hurt. Loss hurt. They're still alive. They still have a chance. I'm still gonna run on BC. They do have Hamilton and Calgary coming up, but and they've lost 4 in a row, so it's really not looking good. They really need Lucky Whitehead to get into form for them to make the playoffs. Saskatchewan, they play Edmonton the next couple of games, don't they? They're cruising into the playoffs. They'll probably have the home game in regards to the Western semifinal. So every week, like we said, not just every week, every game, there are playoff implications. That's what I love about the CFL, 8-9 team league, depending on what year you're with. This late in the season, every game has playoff meaning to it.
If Montreal and Hamilton both win this weekend, they'll clinch spots. So they'll clinch the last 2 spots. And then from there, not the last 2 spots, the last 2 spots in the East. Calgary, BC would still kind of have a chance with Calgary on a bye, but it's pretty slim. So the only thing I think we're going to see is some flip-flopping in standings in the East, and maybe Saskatchewan and Calgary fighting for that home game.
Yeah. Yeah, and Toronto, of course, they're looking good at first place in the East. Can I just take a minute to go on a little tangent? I'm really frustrated with attendance in Toronto. As a CFL fan, getting 6,700, 7,000 fans a game is horrible. Before we move on to the NHL, they just need to figure it out there. They need to figure it out. I went on their websites. They have tickets for $77. Are you crazy?
That's
for what?
Crazy. Yeah.
You're competing against the Raptors, against the Leafs, and they're outpricing themselves. $30 tickets. I can go on for this, but I just want to say I'm really frustrated with Toronto. They got to get their shit together. They need an ownership group bad, because without the Toronto team, the CFL is in big trouble. Sorry, I had to go on a little tangent there.
Agree with you.
They're stealing my time, stealing the steals. So let's go to NHL action. Like you said, 3-3 with 4:50 left in the third period. This kind of fall breakdown aside here, the Jets have been looking pretty good the past 2 weeks, with Wheeler and Scheifele coming back into the lineup slowly. What are your thoughts on the Winnipeg Jets the past week or so since we talked last? How are they looking?
Yeah, I mean they looked good. I mean they got, like you said, they got 5 out of 6 points on that Western road trip. The only thing is they were down in each one of those games, and fought back at the end of each games, right? Scored 2 goals against Anaheim in the last minute there by Ehlers. They sent the game they scored late against the Kings to win. They tied the game late against San Jose, losing it in overtime. So I don't know, you were expecting a little bit more maybe out of them in those games, especially considering that those teams are supposed to be some of the weaker ones. But so far they haven't been able to beat San Jose, who's actually looked better than what they were being talked about coming into the season. So
no kidding, and they're missing a lot of people.
Yeah, well, exactly. They had 7 guys out with COVID-related stuff, so you would think, easy win for the Jets, but they could barely score on them. As Reimer looked pretty good in that game, so they fought back, which is good. But we saw that a lot last year, and at some point it just started to run out where they weren't being able to come back into games anymore, right? So at least Comrie got a big win. He's playing tonight again, so hopefully he can get another one. So, but good to see him get that win on the road trip.
Totally, like it, and. This is not a knock on Comrie. It's just Hellebuck's a bigger goalie.
Yeah.
You can tell that, when him in the net, it's like Hellebuck barely has to move from post to post, and this kid's sliding all over the place, and he's playing well. He's keeping some hard shots out, so props to Comrie. I mentioned Scheifele and Wheeler coming back from COVID protocols, and, they are deep, especially with forwards. So moving forward, once Scheifele gets his legs back, gets his lungs back, maybe from COVID, and Wheeler gets settled in again, how do you see these lineups shaken up? If you could be the coach, if you can replace Pomo with yourself, like I wish you could, what would be your lineups moving forward with the Winnipeg Jets?
Just got to throw out that injuries have always helped Pomo make the best Jets lineups at all times. Because when he has a choice of all 12 forwards to pick, you sometimes leave it scratching your head. And I'm afraid once things start to go bad for this, they'll quickly flip Connor back to the line with Scheif and Wheeler. But to me, I would keep Dubois, Connor, and Svechnikov together. I mean, they've looked pretty good together in this stretch. There's no reason to break them up. I would probably throw Scheif between Ehlers and Kopp. And then you can even go with a third line of Lowry, Wheeler, and Stastny. And then the fourth line, something between Harkins, Vesa, Tornado, Nash kind of thing. And if you need a center on there, I guess you can kind of throw maybe Lowry down, put Stastny in between Wheeler and Harkins or something like that to me. So Wheeler should not be getting top line minutes. I don't think he's able to keep up with that. So to me, that's what I would go with. Keep the defensive pairings the way they are.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think Wheeler should be in the top 6, and I don't think he should be in the top 9, to be honest with you. And I'm kind of looking at that from what we saw with Montreal and their veteran fourth lineup last year in the playoffs, and how they really were able to stir things up with that lineup. So I would love to see, like you said, Kopp, Scheifele, Ehlers on line 1A, maybe PLD, Connor, and Svechnikov 1B. And I really liked the line of Harkins, Lowry, and Vesalainen as a third liners. The first couple of weeks, I thought they were the only thing that was consistently working with the Jets. I really would like to keep them together. So that kind of leaves a Nash, Stastny, Wheeler fourth lineup. And again, I like to refer to that fourth lineup that Montreal had last year in the playoffs and how they really stirred things up, and how I'd love to see that happen in Winnipeg.
Yeah, except that fourth line was making all less than Wheeler combined, though. So
for sure,
tough to throw an $8.5 million player on the fourth line. So
yeah, but when it comes down to it, you got to do what's best for the team, even though Pomo might not have a history of that. So talking about that Montreal fourth line, let's just touch on how awful Montreal is right now. Very quickly, like they just sent Cole Caulfield back down to Laval. Things just aren't doing good. They want him to have more ice time, get more confidence, maybe find something that he had last year. Is Montreal going to get out of this rut, or is this a burn the season, bro? Is this, without Carey Price there? What are your thoughts on Montreal?
yeah, I think they're going to continue to stay at the bottom of the standings and not get any further. Losing Price is huge. Losing Weber, it's probably even bigger. Even with that playoff run like last year, I mean, they basically caught lightning in a bottle there and had a good run and things worked out in their favor. But even right now, they've only scored 19 goals. I think Suzuki scored his first goal tonight, which they did beat Detroit. So, and like you say, Caulfield was on fire in those playoffs, right? He came on strong and everything was going right for him. So now that, things weren't this season, it's a little bit harder on Montreal and they lose that scoring from Caulfield. They're going to be at the bottom of it. Will they finish worse than Ottawa? Not sure, but I guess we're about to find out.
Yeah, and this is not a joke. This is I'm being serious. Like, if you're Carey Price, do you even come back to a situation like this? Like, you take time away from the game. Do you want to come back to a losing team that has no chance to make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not making light of the mental health issues. Do you want to go back under the stress of being the only person that can keep this team afloat while knowing that you're not really going to go anywhere this year? I don't know. I'm just
It's a
putting it
tough
out there.
position for him. It's like Fleury in Chicago, right? Fleury's still a good goalie in that, but that Chicago is a dumpster fire and finally won their first game last night. So, as these guys are, they're competitive. I can see Price probably wanting to go back and help out his teammates and stuff, but yeah, if they don't get any better though, it's definitely a tough situation for him.
Yeah. You mentioned the Blackhawks and the dumpster fire that team is. I had high expectations. I thought they were a playoff team with the addition of Jones and Fleury, and they just got their first win recently. But that's on the ice. But what about off the ice? This situation with Kyle Beach and the sexual assault continues, and things continue to be revealed in the NHL. What did Gary Bettman and the league know? What did Don Fair and the NHLPA know? And of course, we still have Cheveldayoff with his pathetic attempts at an apology, and Chipman with his very emotional plea and commitment to do better. What are your thoughts on that situation? That's actually it's revealing a lot about hockey culture.
Yeah, I guess it's all about what was said in that meeting and what Chevy knew, because I mean it's like nobody really remembers what part he was or where he was sitting.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a kids table in the back and Chevy was sitting back there while the adults spoke at the front of the room. But we know he was in the meeting. We know maybe the allegations or what was spoken in that meeting weren't as strong as what came out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
According to Chevy, it sounded like it was just a sexual harassment case, and I say just that because that's almost what he kind of made it seem like.
Absolutely.
To me, sexual harassment, sexual assault, they're both bad. So, and just from knowing that it was a sexual harassment case, even you would hope or would have hoped that he would have done more, even if he was this lowly assistant GM as they're making it out seem to be. So, to me, even Bettman using that as an excuse, assistant GM, he's not some low-level, junior-level employee that was just getting them coffee. He did a lot of stuff. He was Bowman's right-hand man. He would have helped him with stuff. He would have known what was going on. So, to me, it's just like, hey, you hear it, and then 3 weeks later, you're winning the cup, and you see the guy celebrating, or you see Aldridge still with the team throughout the playoff run. Would you not question to me, why is he still here? Why is he celebrating with us? Why is he gone? And then after that 3 weeks, all of a sudden he's gone. Oh, okay, he's gone. We don't ever have to think about him, right? So, to me, that's disappointing. He could have stepped in. It could have stopped future things. It could have helped Kyle Beach come to terms a little bit better with what happened to him, and that hey, there are people on his side. So, True North's vision to me, or it is, and not to me, it's trust and respect, do the right thing, and continuous improvement. To me, Chevy did not do the right thing, no matter what he says.
No trust there. No trust there. They gotta stop this talk about him being a low-level employee. When you deal with multi-million-dollar contracts, a salary cap, you are running the minor league affiliate. You are not a low-level employee. This guy knew exactly what was going on and did nothing about it. And the fact that you're trying to maybe minimize is the wrong word, but you're playing semantics with sexual assault and sexual harassment. That's trash. That just shows again how toxic the hockey culture is. And don't even get me started with Gary Bettman, how this guy has been an absolute fool through and through. They asked this guy, to paraphrase, do you plan on helping support the young child who was sexually assaulted by Brad Aldrich? And the guy's like, I need more facts. What's wrong with you, man?
Yeah.
And what's wrong with you?
Man? Exactly.
Yeah. And the media is asking him, look at the situation with the Coyotes and the discipline of the $3 million and the picks. And this is only $2 million. He's like, well, different situation, different facts. Like, are you that big of an idiot? Like, it's a prime example.
This is 10 times worse than whatever the Coyotes did to lose their first rounder plus money.
Yes, you're saying that the optics of it, I don't care what the facts is, the optics of it is you care more about the integrity of the game and draft picks rather than people being sexually harassed in your workplace. That is what he's saying. And that just continues this toxic hockey culture of people protecting each other no matter what. You know what I'm saying? It's absolute, and making the victim feel bad and trying to push the victim out of the locker room or the establishment. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Hockey needs to change. And I think they should fire the commissioner.
Yeah, they should probably him, Cheveldayoff, Donald Fair, NHLPA let him down too. There's so many guys. They should have just cleaned house and then we would kind of believe that they actually want to make some changes. So getting rid of a couple guys is not enough here at this point. And a lot of it right now, talk is cheap. Let's see something. Let's see some action. And I don't know. After all this, will someone actually come out if anything happened to them? I don't see this making someone comfortable to come out and to say something happened to them at this point either. So,
no, the NHL has constantly, of the four major leagues, have been on the end of whatever movement's happening. It's like they're oblivious to what's going on. Yeah. Like the George Floyd sport movement, they said barely anything. And they keep Akilu, and that's done because they don't care. If you're not part of their audience, they could care less about you. It's very clear. And that's probably why they're at the bottom of the four leagues, because they exclude so many people from their sport. So anyways, I'm about to go off again on this, but
the thing about Akeem, like you said, though, he was also with the Blackhawks organization and was with the AHL team.
Yes.
When Bill Peters used a racial slur towards him. Chevy was around it as well. And what happened? Nothing.
He held it against him almost.
They held it against him.
Moving forward.
When Akeem was on the Jets, when they moved here, he tried to clear the air with Chevy and talk to him, but Chevy just buried him in the ECHL and never really gave him much of a chance, according to Akeem. So, there's another part of that is another questionable behavior there by Chevy and why he didn't do anything about the racial slur at that time either. So,
exactly,
that's two strikes against him for me, really there, and that's enough to not keep him around.
Yeah, and let's be honest, this is not just NHL culture.
No, yeah.
This is hockey culture from like children to juniors to majors on up. This is a very toxic culture that needs to be destroyed. It's not going to be destroyed if you keep guys like Bettman and Fair in positions of power and Cheveldayoff, which they are, which is absolutely ridiculous. Whew. Let's talk about some good things in hockey to finish off the episode. Let's try something new here. Let's do the monthly Mount Rushmore. And in honor of International Goaltenders Day, we're picking the 4 greatest goaltenders that we've seen in our generation, Ray and Benny's generation. I have a feeling this list is going to be very similar. But who do you got as your 4 for the Mount Rushmore of goalies that you've seen play?
Well, I'm going to rattle off 3 and see if they're the same as your 3 at least.
Yeah, bro.
We got Martin Brodeur.
Check.
Patrick Waugh.
Check.
Dominic Hasek.
Check.
So now the fourth one is the interesting one for me. I'm a Ron Hextall fan, so I'm going to pick Ron Hextall, even though he doesn't belong in that top four at all.
Bro, you're gonna play the homer? Are you serious?
Just kidding. I'm going to give him an honorable mention just because he was
all right,
entertaining.
shout out. Fair enough. Shout out.
I don't know. The fourth one was tough for me to come up with here and who to go with, but I'm going to go with the fellow Italian and go with Luongo as that fourth guy right now.
You picked Roberto Luongo over someone like Grant Fuhr?
Fuhr was on there too, but Fuhr, you know what? I guess so.
No, you don't change your mind now. You don't change your mind now. I'm taking Grant Fuhr.
I'm still going with Luongo.
No, Luongo was the dominant goalie in his time, without a doubt.
Fuhr was definitely entertaining more than any other goalie of all time.
Yeah. Check out that documentary. What is it again about?
Yeah,
Coco?
I watched it. Coco. Yeah.
Shoot, old man memory. Check it out, all y'all out there. It's amazing. But yeah, I'm taking Grant Fuhr. Those 5 Stanley Cups on a team that, yes, they had Paul Coffey, but an offensive defenseman for that was the difference between winning 5 and not winning 5. I'd say.
He was definitely a huge reason for winning those cups. He was no slouch in those things, and Gretzky even says that Fuhr was the most important player on those teams.
Yeah, and he didn't take up a lot of space, and he had small pads back in the day. Yeah. It's not like today. It's so I'm gonna give it up to Grant Fuhr, but I'll love to Roberto Luongo and Ron Hextall. Ron Hextall, give me a break. Ron Hextall. Yeah. All right. Thank you, folks, for joining us on episode 5 of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. Let's hope to see you next week for episode 6. You have anything to say to the folks, Benny?
I just want to say thanks to everyone who's listening, and have a good week.
Have a good week, y'all. In the words of Mike Tomlin, never say never, but never. Peace.